Hey friends, Todd Kramer here, welcoming you back to the Offstage Acting Podcast. Today's episode is a little different. It's a bonusode with just me and Jay having one of those chats that starts out with, I'm just not feeling it today. And it ends with, okay, I've actually got a bit of fire back in my belly. Look, we all know motivation can come and go, especially in the acting world. Some days you're smashing self-tapes and manifesting Oscars, and some days you're just staring at your pile of dirty laundry and saying, meh. In this episode, we talk honestly about what it feels like to be demotivated, why it happens, and how to move through it without beating yourself up. We share what works for us, and hopefully we offer some tools, some tips and tricks, some advice, or at least a laugh or two to help you through those deep dips. Because folks, it's okay to be down. Just don't stay down. And Jay and I are here to lift you up on the Offstage Acting Podcast. I'm like all motivated and stuff. So unmotivated to do this show.
Fantastic. Express it.
Hey. All
Hello.
right. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
You are tuning in to the Offstage Acting Podcast.
Yes, you certainly are. Thank you for joining us.
We're glad to have you.
We are very glad to have you.
Today, we will have a special bonusode.
That's right.
Motivation for actors who are unmotivated currently. Welcome to the program.
For actors who are unmotivated currently. I wonder, just out of curiosity, just sheer speculation, I don't know where I'm getting it from.
Right.
Do you happen to be one of those people?
All right. So for audiences, Jay and I decided, we were talking about motivation. I'm not motivated currently.
I can't. Your voice, I can't, Todd.
I can't even.
No, it's good. It's good.
I'm totally I'm underwhelmed by everything. Loss of motivation, and I think it's a good topic. I decided that Jay had something in there when he was kind of talking about some of it, because it's how would you put it, Jay? It's an actor's.
I mean, motivation
bugbear.
isn't just an actor's. It's like a human. This is like a everyone thing.
Definitely.
But actors for sure, because we're not like,
because we're superhuman.
But well, yes, not only are we superhuman, but also like we don't get the motivation of like money or people telling us we're doing a good job. We have to find motivation like from within.
Right. We don't get, and nobody helps motivate.
We have to find
us.
Inner motivation. Other people don't need inner motivation. They have a paycheck.
Right.
They have
yes.
all of those other things that people have that I don't really know of.
That we call them the 99%.
The 99%.
The norms.
The norms. That's right.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think about it a lot sometimes about the money. Like, the difference when you see somebody volunteering and doing really great stuff. You just you go, wow. It's actually really good for somebody who's volunteering. Because generally speaking, the only thing that gets people out of bed and will get people to do anything of value
is food.
Food and shelter. It's my paycheck, so I got to do it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing stuff as an actor where you are unmotivated, I should have gotten a coffee before this, by the way. That would have helped.
This is great, though. No, I asked. This is my fault. Todd can blame me because he came on, and I was like, Todd, can you go on as this? So that we can method act this episode.
Generally, I pump up my energy. I like to be more enthusiastic.
Yeah. He does, as you
noticed.
All have heard. Yeah,
I think 50 some odd episodes, I have noticed that. But
I've noticed this.
I just can't bring it. I can't bring it. It's hard. Maybe by the end of the show.
That.
Maybe by the end of the show.
I love it though, Todd, because you're just speaking your truth, and I gotta love it.
I'm being authentic.
Yeah. You say that cheekily, but thank the Lord, thank the heavens, thank the gods.
You're glad that there's that
you're finally authentic.
Jesus, behind the facade, there's an authentic person there.
Finally. There's a real person in front of me. No, but actually, because people need to, know that life isn't all just, rainbows and butterflies. Mine is, but
Yeah. But you're a successful, good-looking, young, single, you know, well-to-do gentleman who
Jesus,
feels free
how did I
to
deserve this?
wander the earth at their leisure. You're a man of leisure.
I am a man of leisure. I am
Well,
indeed.
yeah. And good for you. I was once there, and maybe that's another reason why. So, anyway, we want to
I have
make
a
this.
motivate. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have no this because motivation. It's just interesting that we've talked about this because I do have like some specific
Yeah, so we
motivation
want to bring
things. Yeah.
value to the show here for everybody. I'm not just gonna moan about how like lazy
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are. So and we do have some sort of a structure built around this. A couple things also. We'll talk about some announcements. We're gonna do a little catching up because
Great.
Jay and I haven't had a proper catch up for a while in terms of the
Mm-mm.
business of acting and things.
Business.
So that if
Nope.
you're listening in and you want to know how to, get jobs and stay motivated while you're out there trying to hustle. We're going to try to help you with that, basically. And we're going to have a kind of an open heart conversation, as it were. So you
Open
were about to
heart.
lay it on me. You've got some tips already?
Well, it's just because this morning I've sort of had I've had a motivation sort of workaround, as it were.
Mm-hmm. A hack? What do
Kind
you mean?
of.
Okay. What do you mean,
Uh,
work around?
well, I mean, it's this whole. I have a personal belief in regards to motivation.
Oh,
Todd's
boy.
like, Jesus Christ, shut up. Why am I
Here we go.
asking him? I
Yeah.
do. I do have a belief. I have a belief
Of
in
course you
regards
do.
to motivation, and
All right, good. No, you're usually pretty good with the beliefs.
and
But
it
sometimes you lay
you're
out
like
some
you're usually
humdinger.
just good at something.
This
No,
is,
I'm not good at speaking of like the past. You ask me a question about my past, it will take me a really long time to get an answer because I don't
okay.
know the answer.
Right.
Anyway, but beliefs. I in India, right, in my month, there's been one thing I've like kind of not struggled with, but I've grappled with
Mm-hmm.
this concept of discipline, which I think discipline and motivation, right, they're very much tied
Sure.
because we
They help each other. Organization as well helps.
yeah, and you have to stay motivated, right, to be disciplined, right? Because discipline isn't just like a single act, it's a sustained act. You have to
Mm-hmm.
do it again and again and again and forever again, right?
Right. Habit
But I've
becomes second nature,
yeah,
as we
but
say.
I think some people I don't I think some people work very disciplined, like, and are really good at making habits. I think there's some different personality types. I think you are like a very organized guy. You're very good at like creating structure. My skill is definitely in breaking them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've discovered that for me, motivation, discipline, like my workaround is I have to make it bliss-based. Like, I
Okay.
have to make it I know I'm going right into it. Maybe you will
Mm-hmm.
have something to go off of. But, like, this morning, right? Because I've do my yoga, my meditation, and my breath work every day, right? And according to the way it's supposed to do, you're supposed to do your movement, then the breath work, then the meditation. But I get up every morning. I've gotten up every morning the last month, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do this hour and a half, 2-hour thing.
Mm.
I know it's gonna make me feel good."
Right.
It 100% of the time makes me feel good. It's
Right.
100% of the time something that like, I finish and I'm like, this was good.
Time well
I
spent.
This was time well spent 100% of the time."
Mm-hmm.
But I wake up and I'm like, "Good God."
Right.
And I've actually just I discovered this morning and last night, I've kinda discovered that I can wake up and I can meditate immediately. I
Okay.
cannot get up and do, like, stretches and, like, yoga movements. I just won't.
Right.
And I've had to be like, "You know what? Actually, fine. I don't need to do this perceived structure. I'm gonna do what I want, and I'm gonna meditate, and later on in the day, I will make time to do my, like, yoga and breath work, and I know I will, and then I do, and then I get up." And
Right.
so yeah, sure, maybe it's not perfect, but I make this is just an example of making, quote, unquote, "motivation bliss-based" because it's about, like, doing what makes me happy, right? Finding out what like what is going to get me to like want to do the things, right? As opposed to force myself. And I'm proud of myself even if I don't follow the traditional structure that I am able to be like, you know what, I'm just going to do what I want, but that's also going to serve me. Anyway, that's my thing. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
sorry it took this long.
No, it's all right. Maybe I'll try to unpack some of that because I think it
Yeah,
makes
how
sense
does
to
that relate
you.
to
But,
you?
um, well, first of all, we're all creatures of desire, right?
Absolutely.
We're built egoists, meaning that we only do really two things, which is we seek out pleasure or
Yep.
we run from discomfort or pain.
Yes.
And that's essentially what the human body is built to do. So there are certain hacks, if you will, or tricks that you can use and must use in order to motivate the body to do things that it feels is uncomfortable or inconvenient in order to, um, like, well, even like you say, if it's go for a run
Yeah.
or get yourself ready for some activity that you know ultimately will bring you some kind of pleasure.
Yep.
In the front of that, it's hard to motivate yourself. So, how does one trick the mind or educate the mind or influence the mind to do the thing, to tell the body to do the thing that it knows is going to be good for it
Yeah.
down the line? And I think you're right. Everybody struggles with that consistently. We talked about before, money is generally the
Mm.
big motivating factor. But if you're an actor, money isn't always at the end of that rainbow.
No.
A lot of what we have to do doesn't provide that. And the real joy for us, and this is always the kind of mantra around here, is that we actually love to work. Actors love to work.
Yep.
Whereas the average person hates their job and hates going to work and hates it. We actually love it. But we don't get the opportunity to do the thing we love very often. That's the trade off, right?
Mm.
The acting part we would do for free. You know, if I could make money doing other things and then occasionally they went, hey, how'd you like to be, in this play or in this movie? Great. Yeah, that sounds like fun, right? But in order for me to be free and flexible to do that, I have to make that my career.
Yeah.
So how does an actor, anyone first of all, but then especially an actor, motivate themselves to do things around the thing they love, ultimately, knowing that it will help and serve them down the line when they do get the job? But in front of that, how do they motivate themselves to get up and help their own selves out, help their career out?
Yeah.
And this is the challenge. I have now, so if you're talking about health and things, now that's a general thing. And I think that's great because, I know that by getting a good night's rest, eating right, taking care of my voice, taking care of my physical body, almost like an athlete, at a moment's notice, you might be asked to, boom, perform. And that happens a lot, especially with voice.
Mm.
You've had it happen. I've had it. I get a phone
Yeah.
call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you work today?
Coming tomorrow.
Can you
Or
come in tomorrow first thing? Are you available now to do a voice show? And you've got to be fit for that. So, mentally and physically fit. So, some of the stuff that you're doing is very popular with actors already, but that makes sense because let me just open my window here, get a little oxygen. Speaking of, it makes sense because you know that in order to do the thing you love down the line, you need to be prepped and ready and available now. So now you're talking about organizing your whole life, being available to your agents, available for castings, available to work at the moment's notice. So what kind of side work do you do that makes you keep you consistently available for that? What kind of relationships do you get into? Where do you choose to live? What kind of activities are you doing on the
yeah.
side? Hobbies and things. I remember little things with fellow actors coming up where sometimes there'd be aggression amongst some of us and things. And there was stuff like, we knew that you don't, if you're going to get in a punch up or you're going to get a fist fight with somebody, you don't hit him in the face because that guy might need to go and have a
Yeah,
casting
yeah,
tomorrow and he's got a black eye, right? You can accost him. So it was kind of these kinds of things that you have to consider. Like, maybe I can't go do this or that something because, especially if if you're working, if I have a job coming up, if I injure my foot, if I hurt my back, if I break a tooth, if I do anything to jeopardize my physical look, I might be out of work.
yeah. I mean, and then talking about like you're talking about like needing to fulfill kind of the base things, right? If you're thinking of maybe like the hierarchy of needs pyramid kind of thing, and in yogic science with the chakras,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you to get to really fully awaken the solar chakra, right, which is the one of willpower. We're talking about motivation.
Mm-hmm.
To fully awaken it, you have to awaken the two below it, which is the root chakra and like the sacred chakra, right? So those are the two that like are about food and survival and a place in
Yeah.
society.
Yeah.
So it's like I mean, it's a different way of saying the same thing that you are, that you have to fulfill these needs
Right.
before like you can really allow like even your willpower, your motivation, your
Mm-hmm.
drive to even be accessed.
Yeah. Food, sex, family, and
Place in society, purpose, or
yeah, knowledge and wisdom as well, or knowledge at least. Some place in community. These are kind of things that people seek out for sure, as the basics of keeping the beast comfortable, as it were, right? So then here comes the actor who has a very different kind of lifestyle choice because most people are working in order to just have a life.
yeah,
Whereas our life then needs to be centered around potentially getting work. It's a complete dichotomy. It's a reverse. It's a total reversal of the average normal life, and it can be very demotivating very often when you have throw in things like you had said, rejection, uncertainty, lack of
financial stability,
financial stability, and then lack of feedback and
validation. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
validation as to what kind of job you're doing, were you liked. And with me comes a lot of paranoias as well, and I get a lot of sort of, I don't know about you, but I'm always afraid I'm being blacklisted or people are talking about me, or somehow I screwed that job up. Yep.
Doing it right,
This is
everybody will be dancing.
That's funny that went off. That's an alarm. So I've created a whole new alarm system for myself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, just to try
what's the
it.
3:30 alarm?
So the 3:30 alarm was to get back from the break.
Oh, okay.
Um, probably the rest of it might go off.
I mean, that's a good, speaking of motivation, you
Time management,
time management is a really
huge
very common and helpful
tool.
way.
Yeah, yeah. So that's funny that the alarm, because that's brought what's today, Tuesday. I think I started that little scenario Sunday. I kind of started playing with it, and so Monday,
Oh, okay.
today. So that's brand new for me. But yeah. So I've laid out myself like hour and a half blocks with then half-hour breaks to remind myself to chill, get a bite to eat, focus on something else.
Mm, good.
So I get
This
into
is
these
great.
wormholes. Yeah. So that's the topic today, folks. If you haven't figured it out, we're 17 minutes into this discussion, but that's what we wanted to really get into.
So, what are you, Todd,
Yeah.
currently motivated? Like, it sounds like you were motivated to do this time alarm thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you sound unmotivated, but on the flip side, it sounds like there is something you are motivated to do. What is it?
Well, I'm starting to shift over into more of the norm. We talked about non-actors. uh, I'm starting to become more attracted to the norm, and
Uh-huh.
maybe keep the acting as the fun, and just get away from it as a career,
All right.
like a strict career where I feel like I have to kind of. But in the meantime, it's my only source of income, really. So I also need to hustle more in order
Hmm.
to make enough money that I can do the things I need to do to make the shift. So I'm trying to come up with some projects. I also know that I'm not the kind of guy that can go out and get a job. So if I do
Oh,
something else, it's got to be a project that I've developed.
I thought that's what you meant by norm.
Yeah,
I
that's what I
like
meant.
that
So
you spelled that out. Hopefully, all of our listeners do know how to
how to
spell.
spell it?
I won't say it.
Yeah. Well, it's Job,
Job. Yeah,
as
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
the
As in the
wisdom,
biblical.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
wisdom.
yeah.
Yeah, to go out get myself a Job,
Get yourself a
um,
Job. Yeah.
and then lament how I don't have access to the Creator, just as Job did, which I do also do. But anyway, I digress.
You digress. All right. Okay.
So, but
So
keeping it on
interesting.
the acting for now, and let's have
Mm-hmm.
this conversation real quick because I'll give you a couple things I do, and then I'll ask you what you kind of do.
Okay.
Here's the kind of things I find motivational or motivating for me in acting right now. That's keeping me grounded in it,
Okay.
because certainly the rejection. I went away for a few days to a conference in Hungary, a good conference that I wanted to get to. And of course, the day I leave or I'm there, my agent sends me probably the biggest money commercial casting I've ever gotten in my life.
Of course, that's
You
how it
know,
works. If it was
absolutely.
anything else, yeah, that
Sod's
would be
Law,
wrong.
Murphy's. No, what do they call it in America?
I think it saw it.
Sod's Law here, or whatever.
Anyway,
Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law? No, that's a
I
movie.
think it might be Murphy's.
Anyway,
Anyway,
audiences, write down what you think.
correct
But
us.
the point is that, and so now I'm stuck, and I was staying in an awkward place, and I had a buddy that I knew there to record me, and I just did a quick, really cheap, dirty interpretation of this commercial. I didn't have a lot of time to research it. I just thought, if I'd been home in my studio and I had time to work it out, and I picked the right outfit, and I could, deliver it the way I wanted to, maybe I'd have a chance. Um, but I don't want to have to not travel. I don't want to have to turn down opportunities. I don't want to have to always be concerned, because that, 30 grand on a commercial and about 3 or 4 other good sized jobs. That's a good year for an
That's a
actor.
great year.
You know what I mean? You do that plus a couple video games and some other stuff, you make 43 grand in that, and boom. And that's what the whole year can come down to, just booking that big commercial. But if you miss that opportunity when it comes, what do? You're just broke. So it becomes demotivating, right? Now, how do I ground myself? I got into the union. I got active in the union, right?
Mm.
Which keeps me surrounded with actors. I started this podcast and this project, Offstage Acting, which keeps me around actors. Now, here's the deal. If you want to be a great athlete, right? You want to run marathons, who do you hang out with?
Um,
Bankers.
People who will time you. People who own
People who
a
own
lot of property
stopwatches.
so that you can run a
You run
lot.
on a circle. People that make shoes. No.
People that make shoes.
You
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hang out with other marathon
Physicists.
runners, right? Why?
So that you can race them and be better than them.
Okay. I would argue also that
Oh,
they
that's not what you're
support
gonna say.
you. No,
Well, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
talk about
Well, supportive
marathon. It's
competitiveness.
supportive. Yeah, it's not just so I can out act them. Yeah, no,
Well, I
because
thought
you
we were
want to be
talking about
in other.
athletes.
I know, but if you're an actor trying to run a marathon, um, I'll pretend I'm the greatest marathon runner ever. I'll play. That's the role of my life. No, or you want to be a doctor, you go to medical school, you don't hang out with the business the law students. You hang
Maybe you
out,
want to hang out with the lawyers just
you
in
hang
case
out,
you get,
get malpractice. Can I
yeah.
make my point, please?
Yep.
I think it's a valid one.
Okay.
Okay. But you see my point anyway.
Yeah, huh? I do.
You want to hang out with the people who, you know, can get the insight, you get the motivation, you learn from, you develop with and stuff. So if you want to be an actor, you've got to be in a community.
Mm.
So whether that's your acting class, you you're you've you're limited as an actor in a lot of ways, but you have the union, um, you have acting classes, you have shows and programs that you're in, but that can vary in terms of time scale.
Mm.
Where you might be on a show for 6 months, or you might be on a TV show for 2 days.
Yeah, yeah.
So in our case, we know a lot of the people in our agency. You need that community.
Mm.
So I felt like I was slipping away from having that, especially after COVID and all that stuff, pandemic. So I decided, okay, if I want to stay grounded, then let me get into more union activities. I'm running now for standing for Screen and
Yes.
New Media Committee. Yeah,
Yes, I got your text.
a lot of people are standing. It's first time it's really uncontested, or it's been contested in a long time.
Oh, really? Okay, so you're up against
Yeah, there's
people.
like, man, 20 other people for 6
Are you
slots or something.
serious?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
You're up against 20 other people
Including 2 people who
for your
have been doing it
branch?
for years. No, not the branch. Now the branch is
Oh, for your
I'm still
branch.
there. Uh,
This is above. This is like
this is for
the
the Screen and New Media. So
got
you
it.
have the branches, but you also have audio department.
Yes.
Um, you have performers like magicians and puppeteers and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
You have background extras, all the people that we represent through the union, um,
Hmm.
and
So that's how
disabled.
that's been like your
It's
grounding, your conduit to community has
Yeah,
the
because I
union.
felt myself like losing a
Hmm.
lot, like focus on it. Like, other than getting to a job and hanging out with people a little bit and getting some insight there, which is always beneficial. If you go to an ADR session or something and you run into some other actors, and then there's a lot of information being passed around.
It's really great.
It's great, right?
It's
Even in the
really
break and stuff.
truly.
And you just need it. Like,
Yeah.
we need more mixers, we need more social events and stuff amongst us, and more of a community built, which we didn't really have. So, and now that everything's more virtual, anyway, so I created Offstage Acting. I do this. I'm involved in the union. I find that
Hmm.
helps to motivate me. So that's the kind of advice that I would give to anybody. But I think there's also something to be said for um, getting up in the morning and having like small achievable goals for throughout the day, that you are going to send out 10 emails, you're going to
Yes.
research castings, you're going to upgrade stuff, headshots, websites, whatever,
Yep.
CVs, that kind of stuff, right? um,
Well, I mean, I think so. I think this kind of lends to, I guess, so if your piece of advice would be community, which is
mm,
actually a really, really good piece of advice. If you're listening, folks,
yeah,
that is truly important, and that's why I like going to acting classes,
yeah,
just like being around those people. I think Todd, actually, while you're talking, because we've been a part of this, I have, but we've been a part of acting world for so long. That's basically my only community, and
yeah,
I've probably taken it for granted. And
mm,
so for people who don't have that, I don't know if I could even imagine that because that's like the only that's
it's
like
like the best part.
that's yeah. Um so if you don't have actor friends or like aren't a part like of a school or like a community, like that's
Yeah.
yeah. So first off, so that's that. And then I think what you were about to allude to, which I think would be the J piece of advice,
Mm-hmm.
would be the like y- uh the headline term would be inner motivation. Like
Mm-hmm.
you need to find it within yourself where like your motivation doesn't come from an outside source. And that comes from
Right.
you have to
Yeah, that's
understand
good.
yourself.
That's a good point. There's outer
You have to
motivations and inner motivations. Yeah.
yeah, and, like, we can't rely on an outside source to give us motivation all the time. We have
Right.
to learn how to have a relationship with ourselves
Mm,
and relationship with, like, our true thing, our true self
mm-hmm.
that actually wants to do things. so that we
Hmm.
can access that and be motivated from within when nothing outside is.
Hmm.
Um, Now that's,
That's
the
interesting. Yeah.
problem with that, piece of advice
Hmm.
is that, like, it's not so tangible like what you're saying, Todd. Like, community is a really tangible, like, results not results based, but yeah, like,
Yeah.
feasible outcome, practical that you can go out and achieve.
Yeah.
Like, understanding yourself and, like, being having a relationship with your own sense of purpose and
Yeah.
goal is less of a tangible thing that you can just be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna have that today.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have I'm gonna have my purpose in life today." Uh, Really great. If you can do that, then you don't need to this episode is not for you, because you don't need to listen to
I
any
don't
of
know
this because
anybody
you've
that
already
has
figured it
that.
out.
Yeah. But what I'm hearing from this conversation, and it's interesting now because we got two different perspectives going, but they're both valid, and I think we're on both on either side of them as well. But
Yeah.
you're leaning in heavy on the inner motivation, and I'm strictly speaking about kind of the outer motivations. But there needs to be a balance there, right?
Absolutely.
And so now we've discovered, and I wasn't even thinking about it this way, that there's two sources of motivation here.
Yes.
The one that you need to develop within and find those things within yourself, but also those that you find from outside sources.
Yeah. Just like, food. You can't have food without something from the outside. You can't have inner food.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have the inner motivation to go out and get the food. And
Yes.
cooperation is where you know, the friendliest um, creatures, the most cooperative ones, the most communal ones, are the ones that survive.
Yeah.
In the greatest numbers, or thrive in the greatest numbers, and that needs to be our story as well. But at the same time, being an actor is also a very solo enterprise.
Yeah. I mean, some would argue that being never mind, I'm not gonna say that. It is a solo
Let
enterprise,
me
but a
ask you
lot
then.
of companies, like a lot of like, the old Stanislavski, Russian company way, like according to
Mm,
Stanislavski, you cannot be a truly great actor unless you're a part of a company.
right,
Like unless you're a part of like
an
a group of people
ensemble.
that an ensemble. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it is solo, but
Yeah,
some
it's
would
only
argue.
solo in the quest for the work and the job and things. I mean, I can't, go in with as a group and say we want to work today. I'm up for a role or I'm not. It's one man, one person, one role, right?
Yeah.
Now, once I'm working, that's a whole different thing, and that's where
Yep.
obviously then you go great because now you can work with others, and that's the joy of it, the work with others. It's such an odd experience, and this is why I created this podcast and want to have these kind of conversations because people don't understand it from outside perspective. Just the kind of nuanced oddity of it all. The fact that it's so very different to how other people live and experience life and work and career. Let me
Well,
ask you something. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna say agree because I think it
Mm.
requires a level of awakeness that I think it's easy for a lot of people to kind of like live life asleep, because they
Sure.
don't.
Yeah. The
And
alarm goes off. Boom. You get dressed. You head to the train station. You you
you do your
trundle into
thing, you
the
have you
office.
do the thing,
Yeah, you
you
do the
have your
thing.
habit, all the thing,
The whistle
the this, and
blows,
this.
5
Yeah.
p.m., and you're back on your way home, and boom. And then you have 3 or 4 hours of life. And next thing you know, it's 30 years later. Now, we're going out there for experiences more than anything, which means that inherently we are going to be without structure, without security, broke, basically.
Yes,
And
and it will require more use of ourself and a more awakeness and
right.
alertness on us to achieve these
Yeah,
things.
exactly. There you go. And that's why we have to kind of find these motivational. And we've had a few people on the show as well that that deal with this kind of therapies and
Absolutely.
that
We've had a lot
yeah,
of great people.
a lot of great people who have talked about this.
Yeah.
And we've unpacked this many times on the show, but it seems like maybe we're getting a little deeper on this episode. Let me ask you then, When was the last time you really truly felt like on fire about what it is you do?
The day or the week, the month of April, when I got back from India,
Okay.
the month of April, I was on fire. I was
About
on fire,
acting or
Todd.
just
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
yourself?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
well, both.
Well, you were booking a
Because
lot, I remember, right?
it's specifically April, May has been less so, but I left
Mm-hmm.
India being like, I could have stayed. I had people, I could have moved around. I could have done
Yeah.
so many things, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of people stayed and they're like, Jay, you should, why are you going back to London? Like, you might as well stay here because it's so far away. And I was like, no, I have like,
Right.
I realized then I was like, no, I have a career. Like, I've done my thing. It's time for me to go back. And went back on the Saturday. And on Monday, I book like 3 jobs. The first work day, like all of a sudden I'm like
Nice.
bam, bam, bam. Got this commercial, I did the audiobook, and then my voiceover agent called me. And the month of April, there were other, I don't remember
Mm-hmm.
what other things. I had already had a couple of other days too. I think it was one day with somewhere and then it became 2, but like I was, and I felt so, just because I like knew it, it
Mm.
felt so like right. It felt very much like synchronous with the universe being like, you said you needed to go back because you had something to do. You
Right.
were right. There
Right.
it is.
Okay.
So April really felt very like,
But that was from booking the jobs, right? Primarily, and making the
I
right decision about coming back and things.
well, and it was also just because I was so healthy and I'm still healthy, but like
Mm. Yeah.
doing like breath work and an hour a day, meditation an hour a day, yoga 3 hours a day,
Mm.
not being on my phone, being in the sun, bathing in the
Right.
Ganges River.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was so healthy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I still
Mentally
am.
and physically. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm keeping it up, but like that I was at the peak then,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
For
be
sure.
at the peak of my health and kind of, and then also like be booking all these jobs, definitely on fire. That was the last
Mm.
time.
Yeah. It's how are you going to keep the balance now? Because London is not India.
I just do the same. It's my, I breath work has been amazing, Todd. It's been
Mm.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's been a huge ego battle,
Yeah.
massive, because I suck at it. Not like that's my ego saying that, but like I have a routine, right? And that like that's building towards something. It's going to take years to get to the end. And there's like 100 steps. And I was like, I can start at step 7. I've done breath work. I just did India, right? I'm an actor. And I slowly had to go 7, 6, 5, like
Mm.
go back and back and back and back. Because I wasn't actually able to do these things like with ease.
Mm-hmm.
And then I even had to start doing just the prep exercises. And actually, Todd, this is so funny. It comes back yesterday. No, 2 days ago, the 1st of June, I finally, like, after 2 months,
Mm.
have gotten to like the first step that I tried to do.
Hmm.
And
What's the
I've
first step?
being able to comfortably breathe. It's
Through the
1, 2,
septum.
3, 4, 5, switch out, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh
5,
yeah.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
in, out, and then do.
Changing
It's just
nostrils.
5. Yeah, alternate nostril, and then 5, 5, 5.
Yeah.
Super simple, right? But now that I'm doing it, like when I do it this morning, it is with such a sense of ease,
Mm.
and my breathing is so slow.
Right.
And I didn't have that 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And because I threw away my ego and was like, I know I'm not good at, it's not about being good at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about being good at it.
Right.
It's about like doing something easily and with joy, right?
Enjoying.
And
Yeah.
I do it every day.
The
So you
process.
asked, Todd, how am I going to keep the balance? It's about doing my breathwork, meditation, and
So
movement, my
keeping the
yoga
routine.
every day.
Keeping the routine.
Yeah. And sometimes the routine has to like change. Like I'm still discovering the way the routine needs to be presented. Like maybe I do meditation first instead, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I keep the things.
Mm-hmm.
I I find the way to make myself want to do these things, right? Instead of like you're talking about motivation. Like there's a difference between wanting to do something and wanting to want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
We want to want to do it,
Right.
but we don't,
Right.
you know? Because if we want to do something, then we do it.
Yeah.
So the trick is how do we actually like want to do something? And
Yeah.
like how
This
do
is
we
the hack that we were talking
yeah,
about
how do
before.
we
Yeah.
like find within like me like wanting to do the thing?
Well, that's where I go back to then the external environment and things, which
Mm,
if you put the time and effort in, then that external environment will pay you back in those moments when,
100%.
right? When you're
100%.
low and down and you don't, because you have put into that environment, that community, when you were up high, you pumped in a lot of positivity and you motivated,
Yep.
you celebrated other people's wins, and you gave back, you mentored others, whatever it is. Then when you're back down low, that environment is there to pick you up.
100
Yeah,
percent. I mean, relationships. That's
yeah,
like what happens in relationships.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's good stuff, man. I mean, it's really interesting. I agree fully with definitely with the health and mental and physical well-being. It's huge for actors. Got to stay on top of it.
I really believe that. And yeah,
Almost as if you were a professional athlete or something like that, that's just ready at a given moment's notice. And also then having your own kind of projects and things. I know you you do the Dungeons and Dragons. You're doing
so
the
now it's the yoga stuff.
yoga
Now it's,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, so you have these kind of habits that are also hobbies, that are enjoyable. That also then you don't feel like, because this is a thing that happens with a lot of actors, especially the newer ones. If you're not booking, if you're not working, how do you identify yourself?
Yeah.
The one thing I hate to say, I'm happy to say to somebody, what do you do? And to say, oh, I'm an actor. When I know that I'm going tomorrow to a job that I've been working on a video game and it's current. But that was 2 weeks ago already.
Yeah.
Today, if somebody says, what do you do? I go, sometimes I'm an actor. So
I know exactly what you're
yeah, you
saying.
feel like this kind of fraud, but you can't allow yourself. So, in other words, I don't identify, even though that's a question people ask, what do you do? And you're not your job, but I don't identify myself necessarily as an actor, um, even when I am working.
Mm.
I am a fully fleshed out person with all kinds of interests and all kinds of um,
Yep.
things that hold me and keep me consistently a person, like my kids and my girlfriend and my other interests and things. And so if the acting stuff isn't just blowing up, if I'm not just consistently working, then I don't allow myself to feel low,
Yeah, and
denigrated.
this is exactly this, and this is now going back. This is inner work. This is
Yeah, right,
you've already done all of this inner work to be
right,
like, if I like don't book a job at every moment, like that doesn't mean I don't exist,
right.
right? Like you have your own identity, like you are a person. You have an identity.
Yeah,
You've done that. I think this is definitely a struggle for newer upcoming actors to like to do what you're talking about.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think if they follow our advice now, they'll see. It's this, speaking of breathing, you can think of it in that terms. The breathing
great
in is the internal, fire that you're building and you're holding yourself that way. The out is
is what
the
you're giving to the
building
world.
community, yeah, giving to your environment, and then just a constant sort of flow within that process. And you can make your way like this, irregardless of whether you're an actor or not. This is a great way to kind of, I think, look at life as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were if I've already said this story, I'm so sorry.
Hmm.
But so many of our, guests have talked about this
Yeah.
and have mentioned this, but, like, one of my favorite things in India that my philosophy teacher talked about was what he defined intelligence as. Have I said this story?
I
Because
don't
if I have,
recall. Maybe.
I'll just say it again
It's
really
fine.
quick.
Oh
We
yeah,
were
you
all
did. Yeah.
like, he defined intelligence as the ability to be happy.
Yeah.
Right? Not necessarily the true definition of intelligence, but it's about learning what the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was saying a businessman can have his car, his job, his wife, his house, his business partners, all these things. But an intelligent businessman has all those things too,
Mm-hmm.
but he's happy.
Yeah.
And that's the real sign of intelligence is someone who can be happy. Because what's the worth of having all those things if you're not happy?
Right.
Right. And so many of our guests have talked about like what has in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
like made them happy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. The
that's what
whole
you're talking about.
process should be a point of joy and contentment. The failures as well. And that's something for an actor. If you enjoy the whole, all of it, then this is the right career for you. For example, if we're talking to actors specifically now, you should be happy with what you have and enjoy what you have at all times. If what you have is rejection, if what you have is no money in the bank, if what you have is uncertainty, relish in it, right? Enjoy it. It's part of being an actor. You can say, well, I'm an actor. And even if, yeah, ha ha, well, you're broke. Yeah, but that's part of the fun of it. That's part of the experience of being an
Part of the
actor.
game.
It's part of the whole thing, right? And I love those times. I don't personally, but maybe a good actor does. But you can say, because it motivates me to
It could be a motivator.
it's
I
it's
think
in and of itself a motivator.
I don't think you've given yourself enough credit. I know for a fact, actually not for a fact, but I know it still, that Hot Toddy has had like things go up against him and things not work for him, and that has motivated him to like do more. I know so you're saying, oh, I a good actor, unlike me. I know you've been that person, and I know you are that person too.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
absolutely right. No, I think you're right. It's if I had been a hugely successful actor somewhere else, I wouldn't have made this podcast. I wouldn't be having these conversations. I wouldn't have met the kind of people I've met. It's all meant to be for whatever it is and wherever it's going. It's all meant to be that thing, and that's great. And that's not to say that I don't get down. It's hard. It's hard to see people more successful in theory, or in by my perception, more successful than I am, doing well, making money, and whatever, and going, why isn't that my story? But my story's not finished,
Nope.
So we all have to bear the brunt of this journey, and there's no point. And if even in the down times, again, just enjoy. Relish in it, because you're not going to stay down forever, and it might be the thing that motivates you to rise, rise in a huge way.
Ascend,
To ascend,
to
great.
apotheosize, even though that's not a verb, but
Right.
whatever.
Right, apotheosize. That's amazing.
Thank you
You
so
make
much.
up all kinds of words. So, little updates about some of our former guests.
Okay.
Our friend Amber Martin is in town.
What?
Yeah,
She left her weed in Texas and went to London? What's she doing here?
She is performing with the Scissor Sisters.
I'm sorry, what?
Who are doing
That's amazing.
Yeah. They're doing a tour of Europe and the UK. I think they just finished the UK leg. Yeah. I've been desperate to try to get tickets. She could have gotten me tickets to go Manchester or Birmingham and some of these places, but I couldn't get there.
I bet it was pretty sold out. They were hard to get tickets, weren't they? It's the Scissor Sisters.
Well, she's allowed, like, she's the opening act.
Is she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy. She's
Okay,
going
Ms.
to see
Amber
Cabaret tomorrow. I think she might have an extra ticket. You might have to pay for it, but if you wanted to go hang out with her, you could go see Cabaret.
Maybe I'll message her on Instagram like right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
I can't go because I've got stuff to do, but she's coming up here this way on Thursday anyway. We're going to hang out. So, yeah, Amber Martin, check her out on our podcast. I forget which episode it is, but you can find her.
You'll find her.
You'll find
Big
her.
hair.
Big hair. She's the opening act for the Scissor Sisters tour right now. Our other friend, Alexa Morden, has been in touch. And that was a more recent, obviously, guest on our podcast. But she, get this, so she's been very busy uncovering more unscrupulous types in our industry.
Oh, God.
Including a woman who has opened a kids talent agency. She's changed her name, apparently. Yeah.
Anything with kids, I know
it's terrible. I just hate it. I absolutely hate it, man. Like, and parents who don't know, and they just have this little talented kid or whatever, and they just think, oh, maybe they can make a little money, or they just want to do this, and
Good God.
somebody comes along. So, but Channel 4, which is the local UK, one of the channels, local
Yeah.
UK channels here, have been on to her about some of her stories. She's been
Oh,
compiling, as you know,
yes.
stories, evidence of,
Massive
all kinds of
amounts
unscrupulous
of
types.
material.
Yeah. So they're on to her to maybe produce some kind of a documentary, expose.
Obsessed.
Yeah. So, and part of that is because there's very little legislation in this country about who can become an agent. You don't need to be. I could be an agent tomorrow.
You want to be my agent?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I'll start an agency. I know
Yeah.
everything. I charge you £150 processing fee, obviously, up front.
All right. Well, I've done 50 episodes with you, so
Take that in
that's
cash.
obviously, yeah.
And then to get you on Spotlight, it'd be another £20. And then I'll send you the price list. No, those are jokes because that's what the unscrupulous type thing. Don't ever pay audiences. If you're an actor, an aspiring actor, you're hearing this now. Don't ever pay anybody who claims to be an agent any money up front. That's not how it works. They are meant to find you work, and they get a commission percentage of your work. So, no way, shape, or form does the Offstage Acting podcast or any affiliates condone the use of agents and money or changing hands. Okay.
Great.
So and she's working on her book and things like that. So, those are a couple updates from
Love
her.
that.
Yeah,
Thanks for the update.
and hopefully we'll find out more. But her and I, we might work together on some things just to, promote what she's up to, because she's a crusader out there in the fighting for the rights of actors everywhere, which is amazing. So we really wish her Godspeed, because it's really, it's in line with what we're trying to do. I mean, I just
Absolutely.
can't stand it. And if I do get elected to equity, I'm gonna start making a lot of noise about the fact that equity isn't more involved in dealing with actors, agents, and some kind of certification process. I will be going to Equity on the 16th to get into a meeting regarding PACT, which is where we're talking about our self-tapes and those kind of agreements. So, yeah, these are the kinds of things that, I don't know, keep me going, keep the conversation alive, keep us interested and informed at all times about what's going on, and giving back a little bit to that community that we talked about. Yeah.
And keep us acting off stage.
Get acting, stay acting, offstage acting. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Todd.
That was a cool conversation.
I appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Yeah, we can't always be up all the time.
No.
Although this music does not hurt. Thank you for joining us. To the audiences, we'll see you next time on the Offstage Acting Podcast. So glad that you were with us.
Woo-woo. That was the lamest woo I've ever given in my life.
Do you want me to cut it?
No, I don't know. I was just trying to be polite. Didn't want to interrupt you.
Polite and motivated.
Woo-woo. Maybe it's probably funny.